Welcome to the first ever episode of the Mastermynd Beauty Podcast. I'm so excited for my first guest. It only makes sense that my very first haircut ever in her bathroom when we were probably 14 years old with kitchen scissors is my first guest on the Mastermynd Beauty Podcast. So let's bring her in. Hey.
Hey.
I'm so excited. I'm going to try really hard to be professional.
Same.
All right. So Marissa, the esthetician, let's go all the way back to the beginning. I think it's so crazy that we both ended up in the beauty industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. So little backstory on us. I'll go first. Okay. Marissa and I have been best friends since we were, is it 13?
Definitely middle school. So however old you are in middle school.
I think did we meet in like 8th grade maybe? Or 7th grade? I met you at the bus stop.
Yeah.
So maybe it was 6th grade. Anyways, we met when we were in middle school, but we actually met.
Turns out.
Tell them when we actually met.
A couple weeks ago, I'm going through old pictures like my mom sent me from Tennessee. And I find this school picture, and I remember being at your house and seeing this like one particular picture, like your mom had all these photos of you guys like every year, you know, you, Marky, and Robin. And there was this one picture. Well, I'm looking at this school picture. I'm like, wait a minute, why do I have Allison's school picture? This is so weird. Turns out we were in the same kindergarten, preschool.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Our pictures are like this.
You sent me that picture and I'm like, there's no way. I texted my mom. I'm like, why weren't you hanging out with the other moms in my class? We could have had another, what is that? Like 10 years together.
Literally.
It's probably a good thing.
Met because of us.
Instead of us, me because of them.
Right.
It might be a good thing we didn't have 9 extra years together.
Yeah. Probably.
What is your favorite memory of us growing up?
Oh my gosh.
Try to keep this PG-13.
Okay. I know because, you know, my kid's going to listen to this.
Yeah.
So I think mine was, I'll keep it generalized, is all of our summers when we went to the camper with my parents. I mean, we were doing a lot of things, but I think like every weekend we would go. There was no question asked. And we might have gone without my parents a few times too.
I'm going to wait till you're done. Mine are the same memories, but do you remember the time that we took your parents' keys to the camper?
Yeah. Yes, I do remember.
Your mom called. She's like, where's the camper keys? We're like, oh, we're at the camper.
Yeah. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yep.
She's like, you guys don't have your license. How would you be at the camper?
Yeah.
We're like,
and you don't have the keys. And I was like, yeah, we do. And we're here.
And we're sleeping here.
Oh, yeah. Those times were really fun.
Look at us. We grew up. Look at us.
Look at us.
Now we're in the beauty industry. Just wholesome adults.
Yes. Wholesome adults now.
Okay. So I really want to get into your story. So let's go back to high school. I think a lot of parents are always like, what do you want to do after high school to their kids? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I just think it's so crazy. As a hairstylist, talking to my mom clients, they'd be venting to me like, my daughter doesn't know what she wants to do. I really want her to make a decision. And I would always tell them, I'm like, listen, some people don't know what they want to do right after school. I was going into police work when I graduated high school. I was like I was like on my way to the police academy. And I'm like, actually, I think I want to make people feel good. I think I'm going to do something else. And then I was in beauty school and thriving. So I think a lot of people think we make those decisions like right out of high school, and we don't. So let's go back to high school. How was it? What was your high school experience like? And then transitioning like out of high school into your career?
High school was rough. I was just never a school person. I did not thrive in school. I basically failed everything. I was too busy wanting to do a lot of other things.
I'm laughing because I'm like, same.
Yeah. And what's funny is like, so you got homeschooled, the year before I did. So
you were like, that looks fun.
Yeah. say less. I'm doing that. So inevitably I fail all my classes because I remember I was working at the Pretzel Peddler.
TBT Westland Mall.
Westland Mall. And they wouldn't work me because I was a student and you could only work so many hours. And I was like, well, that's bullshit. Like if
No
I
problem.
drop out of school, like then I can work more, at the pretzel place.
Totally logical. Very logical.
It makes complete sense. Well, then I was like, okay, I don't want to get my GED because I felt like that would look bad on resumes, which is perfectly fine now. So then I got homeschooled my last year. And did we go to the same homeschool? I think so, right?
I kind of feel like we did. I don't remember what the one I went through was called, but I feel like there was a time where maybe our parents talked or something, or maybe I told you which one I did. Yeah. So
got homeschooled. Essentially, it was my senior year, but I was so far behind. I would have been like a 6-year senior. Like that's how behind I really was. So I got homeschooled, cheated my whole way through that too, by the way. But I call it being resourceful. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember one of my classes to make a tie blanket and I killed it like the first day. And they're like, yeah, you don't have to come back. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go work.
Wait, the tie thing where that you tie all the ends?
Yeah.
You just cut the little slits and then tie them together. Yeah. It's like a felt blanket.
Literally, I killed it in 2 hours and it was supposed to be like a 12-week thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Overachiever, star student.
I know. Maybe I am great at school. So I was resourceful my whole time and talked the lady into just letting me turn in the test at the end and pass. And that was it.
Wow.
But my mom did make me pay. We actually just had this argument the other day. She made me pay for my homeschool.
Oh, wow.
As she should. Back then, I'm sure I was a little shit about it. That's not it. But now looking back,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you dropped out of high school so that you could work. So,
yeah, duh.
That's amazing.
Joke's on me.
So did you know right after high school, I know the answer to this because I know your story, but tell us about your journey into where you are now. So what careers did you have in mind? Where did you want to go after high school?
What didn't I do? Right. I think I agree, with what you said earlier, you tell your clients the same thing I tell my clients that too. I didn't know what I wanted to be until I had life events and I had worked certain things. And it's looking back now, they were all steps to get me to where I am now. So first thing I did was I went to medical billing school. And I think that kind of gave me my confidence, oh, I'm not a complete idiot. I do like school, but it has to be something that's, I'm interested in. Yeah. Or that I'm going to apply to work and then, make money.
Yeah.
So I did medical billing. So then I went into the medical field, we'll say, but more on the admin side because, I pass out. So I can't be a nurse or anything like that.
We literally both passed out in every sex ed class growing up. I remember you'd text me and you'd be like, hey, we had to watch the female reproductive video today. And I passed out. I'm like, I passed out too.
I still pass out to this day. Braden is getting a physical today and he's about to pass out. So I passed it on. So I went into medical billing. I did that for a really long time and just kind of progressed in that field. My final stop with, I would say medical was I was a practice manager for a derm office. And that's what kind of intrigued the aesthetics part of it. I was the type of manager that I can't tell you to do something if I don't know how to do it myself. And plus they were complaining about doing these chemical peels. So I was like, I'll just do it. Well, then I became obsessed with it. And I would be I taught at a medical billing school too at night. So when I was there, all I was doing was Googling how to make these chemical peels more relaxing. And if you've ever gotten a chemical peel, they're not relaxing.
Right.
But I was so intrigued with it. I loved doing it. And I remember saying this would be a dream job for me. But I had a comfy salary. I had an office with a window and I didn't want to leave. fast forward, I worked for some horrible doctors, some really great ones, but bad ones. And it made me quit. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's bad for my mental health. So I quit, went into health insurance, like selling health and life insurance, because everyone would always told me like, oh, you'd be so good in sales. No, not when like your like life depends on it and your like income depends on it. I was not good at all. I lost money. There's no way. After that, I did real estate, which this is also crazy because this is very intertwined with your family as well. Did real estate, but at the same time, I remember interviewing with the real estate broker after I'd passed my test, and I had just started aesthetics school. And I was 30 years old at that point. So all that before 30s, finished aesthetics. Yeah, but in between when I was in school for aesthetics and doing real estate, which I was not, I realized like I had to go all in, and this is what I truly, truly love to do. And the other one was kind of just like a distraction, to say the least.
Yeah. Just something to like try to make some income while you're putting yourself into school.
Right. And I remember like very vividly, we were in a meeting. We had to get like basically CEUs for real estate. And it was an important meeting, I'm sure. And there was this girl, and she had lash extensions. And I was just like looking at her. I'm like, does she have lash extensions? Does she not? And I'm like drawing what I want my suite to look like everything. And I went back to my office and I was like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Wow.
And I never went back. I knew. I was like, I never went back. I did it completely wrong, but never went back.
Wow, that's wild. I do remember a lot of that time when you were just kind of like really finding your passion in aesthetics, but trying to like juggle these other jobs at the same time. That's so you go to esthetician school and you get your esthetician license, and then what?
So right when I got out of school, it was like couple weeks maybe before I got out of school, I did a lash extension course. And then, because I wanted to do that, but I knew deep down I really wanted to do facials. But lash extensions, it's quick money. There's really no like overhead with it. So, and I was pretty good at it.
And everyone comes back every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it just like this. So I did that while waiting for my license to be approved, because there was like a huge lapse. I started actually doing lash extensions out of my living room. I still have pictures to this day. I have a photo of Braden when he's probably, God, he's so tiny. I don't know, he's little. He's holding like a little ring light, and I am lashing in my living room. And I lived like in the country. I mean, you remember.
Yeah.
And I would have people come in my living room. And then finally we moved to like a spare room. And I did that all the way up until we moved here.
I'm still mad at you for moving to the middle of nowhere. We lived down the street from each other.
Literally.
We literally grew up a yarn ball away from each other.
No, literally, we tested it. Until John Steele came and like, oh wait, we're cutting out names.
No last names today. That's okay. This is
this guy.
Our
and then
other
he cut
neighbor.
It, remember?
Yeah, he cut our string.
Well, we put like a sticky note on it too, like, John, don't cut.
Yes, I was so mad. And then you moved. I think you moved just to an apartment kind of close by, but it felt like forever away because we were no longer like, we used to do light shows. Like I'd flick the lights in my bedroom to see if you could see them from your bedroom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so mad when you moved. And then of course we like grew up and got families, and just so wild. Yeah. I always tell people, like, when people are like, oh, is Marissa like your best friend or whatever, like your longest friend? I'm like, Marissa's more like a cousin. She's like the person, like, we're very low maintenance friends, I feel like. Yeah. Like, do not need to talk every single day. We're both living our lives, but you're the first person who has showed up every single time something traumatic has happened in my life.
Literally.
Like,
Halloween.
first person to call whenever something happens, like, yes, you have always, I remember when I called you from the hospital that one time, you just jumped in the car, drove an hour and a half to me when I was sick. I remember you like came and left me so much medicine on my porch. I was like, I can't believe she just did that for me. Just like that, like low maintenance friend that just comes through for everything. So I think it's really cool that we both have just like grown. Obviously you're like in Texas now, which we'll get into that in a second. But have like still, obviously we're still very tied together. So awesome. Yeah. So hard to find in this world too. Like I feel like nowadays that's very hard to find with like the way social media is and stuff like that. Like, are we really have like a strong foundation for our friendship, which I love.
I agree. Okay. It's hard to find. And like, plus like just all of our history, everything, like you said, we built that foundation and it is really hard to find.
Yeah.
And definitely. It's crazy. Like any accomplishment that like I'll post on thing, like you're the first one to say something, and it's cool. We always rooting for each other.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's get back into your career. So you are doing aesthetics out of your living room. You didn't you move things down to your basement for a period of time? Like you ended up moving your business into like a room in your house, correct? Yeah. So you grow your business at your home in Michigan. Yeah. And then how many years did you do that for before you made the big move?
Oh my gosh, probably like 2, I think. And what's crazy is like, I don't think people really understand. Like I was in rural Michigan. Like I'm talking dirt road, like good old boy. Like the fact that I built what I built there honestly gave me the confidence to like then move. But because I mean, even like the closest house to me was a while away, it was so rural.
Yeah, I remember. I think I drove out there a handful of times, and every time I went, I'm like, why'd she live out here?
Wait, didn't Levi one time say, like, are we in Ohio? Like cornfields everywhere. Like when it would snow, I remember one time, Brain like shoveled my whole my driveway was like a acre and a half long. So I remember I've got a client stuck in there before. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, you were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you did that for a couple of years, and then you decided to make this big move.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So it surprisingly wasn't my idea. And if you know me, and like that would be totally something that I would do.
100% a Marissa move.
Yeah. But then you also know Richie too. Like Richie's very like comfortable and like doesn't do that. Like he's just comfortable where he's at, and that's perfectly fine. So he came home from work one day, and it was during COVID, but it wasn't what it was yet. Like it was right in the beginning. And he comes home and he says, let's move to Texas. And so weird for him to say that. I didn't even bat an eye. And I said, okay. It just felt, which is so, we've never talked about it. He's never showed me pictures. We did visit Texas one time, but it's Dallas. Like we didn't know anybody here. It was crazy. So he comes home, says that, and I'm like, okay. I did end up reaching out to someone that we went to high school with that moved to Texas and asked them where was a town that's in Michigan that is similar to a town in Texas. And she's like, well, I have no idea, but I think you would like where we lived. And so I did. My only thing was they have to have good schools. We did that and visited a few months later. We were at the beach and I look over at him and I'm like, can you see us living here? And he said, yeah. I'm like, me too. So then got our house ready. We didn't tell anybody. And well, funny story. Let's add this part in here too. So right when Richie had come home and said that, I had a reading with the psychic.
I don't know if I remember this.
So technically my move was because my psychic kind of told me to. So I did a reading and I hadn't told anybody yet. Like nothing cryptic was posted on Facebook. Like nobody would have known this. And she tells me, are you planning? Like we were talking about something completely different. And she says, are you planning on moving? Like,
okay. I do remember this.
I was like, yeah. Or I don't even think I said, yeah. I was like, possibly, but I already knew in my head I was going to do it. And she was like, is it south? And I was like, well, isn't everything south of Michigan? And she said, no, like I hear like a Southern accent, like thick. She was like, so either Tennessee, the Carolinas, or Texas. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, shit, like nailed it. And I was like, yeah, actually. And she was like, do it. It's going to be great for you, your family, your business. Like, do it. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay. So then we came, visited, did all that. And probably about a year from when he came home, we did it. We moved.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
So were you nervous to start over your business? Because you had a pretty strong clientele. Remember, like you were busy doing lashes. Were you nervous to start over your clientele there? Did you know for sure that you were going to go there and start a business? Or were you thinking like you could get a job in a aesthetic spa or something like that? How did you feel about that?
I totally understand where if you've never felt that pull, and I'm super woo-woo and into that weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I felt so comfortable and I just knew it was going to work out. Like if my logic was, if it worked out here where it was very rural and I don't have as many people at my fingertips, I'm going to kill it in Texas because like everywhere that lives around us is like a master community. I have so many more people at my fingertips. I know what works because I've already done the trials and errors. And I genuinely had like the confidence. I just knew. Wow. Plus my psychic told me it was going to be fine.
Yeah. Duh. And she obviously knows what she's talking about.
Yeah,
she's psychic.
She's a psychic.
So you go to Texas and you open a business.
Yeah.
I remember you not wanting to do lashes right away because of the humidity. That was the thing, right?
Yeah. So lashes very much depend on humidity and temperature. And I had already, like, before I left, I cut down my lash business anyway, because I didn't want to take any new lash clients back in Michigan because I knew what was going to happen. And I knew they'd get addicted and then be all sad, that I was leaving.
Yeah.
So I then was like, okay, I'm only going to do facials. And then like that blew up too. And I'm like, okay. And I remember telling Richie, like, when I moved to Texas, I'm not going to do lashes at first because deep down I knew I didn't want to do them anymore. And that was my bread and butter. Like that was where all my money was coming from. And I had just taken like a continuing ed course too, like days before that. And
lashes.
I remember him. Yeah. He told me, he's like, you've invested so much in your education on this and like, you're really good at it. And like, it's your bread and butter. And I'm like, no, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And
very Marissa of you.
Yeah. Right. And because I knew I didn't want to do it. So then when we moved, I think I maybe use that as an excuse, like, oh, temperature and humidity. And I didn't want to start. My thing was I didn't want to start doing lashes here and try to figure that out. And then that looked bad on my business if they weren't great.
Yeah.
And then them not trust me with other things. So I was like, I'm just going to go in doing facials. And I remember saying, if basically I was broke, I would add, I know I can do extensions. I will figure it out. I know I'm good at them. I'll do it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll bring them back for Christmas. I have never brought them back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a strong
retired
move.
lash artist.
So what do you feel like was the main thing that you did to restart your clientele in Texas? What is the one thing that you contribute most of your success to?
The one thing?
Well, what did you do? What did you do when you moved there to start a brand new clientele in a suite?
Yeah. So the very first thing I did months before I even moved here, and I hadn't even told my clients I was moving yet. I had switched in my bio that like Katy, Texas coming soon. I started hashtagging like stuff in Katy. And then I would say like the very first thing that like was like big. And it's ironic because it was like a year ago or a couple years ago around this time, there were local businesses here and they were doing a giveaway and I joined it. And it was like, and now looking back, I'm like, dang, they're really good businesses till this day. So we all did like a giveaway, and it was like a free facial or something like that. And like a pedicure from like the local nail salon. And it was very much geared towards moms. And that's a lot of my clientele. So they all had to start following me. And this was like a month or so before we even moved. So they all kind of got to know me and like watch the journey of like me moving. And Texas people are just so nice. Like, it's kind of scary. Coming from the north, I'm like, why are you so nice? You know, like, why are you doing that? And even like with moving, like there would be people who would reach out and be like, oh, if you need help moving, like, please let us know. And I'm like, what? So you can steal my stuff? Like, no, like that's the northern in you, right? And I still have clients that were from that post, and they still follow me, or they still come and see me, and I still talk to them regularly. That was almost 3 years ago.
Wow. And that's like those key people. I just posted a reel on Instagram yesterday. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
When I was making that, I was thinking, pulling all those old photos of when we first opened Salon Bella Vie in 2009. I think a lot of the pictures I posted were in 2011. Yeah. But just so beginning. I mean, I was a baby stylist. The walls of my salon were literally orange, like probably the worst color we could have made those walls, but we didn't know any better. And as I was making that reel, I was thinking of like I was thinking of the key people who built my business, because those strong people who came through and like promoted. You were one of them, my first haircut. Yeah. I still have the $2 bill that you paid with.
Really?
Yeah, I still have the $2 bill that you paid with, and you were my first client at the salon when we opened. And so like just those key people that helped your business grow, whether they like supported you consistently or they told all their friends, because networking is just huge.
Yeah. It's word of mouth, like between social media and word of mouth, it just snowballed.
Yeah. Social media and networking. It's so such a powerful tool and so underutilized. I think there's a lot of people in our industry who think they're doing social media right. They're posting. Yeah. And they're like, why am I not getting any, I know what I'm doing. I post on social media every day. And it's like, you don't have your marketing hat on. Yeah. And that's one thing that I have been blown away by, is your marketing techniques and how you have grown your business. Like, when did social media click for you? When were you like, oh?
Yeah, just act surprised. Okay, ready? So, social media, ironically, clicked. So when I was at the real estate office, Marky had come in and did like a social media class with us. And what's funny is like, I remember a very like vivid piece of advice, and it had nothing to do with real estate. So why? I think he just knew I wasn't going to do that. I knew I was going to suck. But I remember him telling me with before and afters, I would post like the after first and like the ugly after. And then like, oh, swipe to see how like great it is. And he's like, no, he's like, put the pretty one first. And I'm like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? So it clicked when Marky told me.
That's so crazy. Yeah. So before we hopped on today, I was trying to think of some questions that I wanted to ask you. And I was running the questions by Mark, and I was like, all right, these are the questions that I'm going to ask Marissa today. Like, do you have any other ideas and stuff like that? And I got to the one about social media. I was like, I want to ask her when social media clicked for her, because she's just like killing it. And he's like, probably clicked when I taught that real estate course. And then here we are.
And it was. Wild. And it just, I think also seeing like you always on social media. I mean, if you think about it, like social media back then, totally different. And totally, it's free. Like, why would you not utilize it? And yeah, I don't know. It definitely clicked then for me.
When Mark taught that social media class to the real estate company, that's when Mastermynd Media was first taking off. And now to see where we are now, Mastermynd Media is like huge company now, and we have Mastermynd Beauty now, and all these. It's just Wild to think about. That was the very beginning of him teaching social media. He was teaching me all that stuff. He was teaching everyone else. And, and obviously it helped me.
Yeah. You would say things to me too, or just like, hey, like lighting or do this. And I was just always receptive. And I think that helps too. Cause like you said, people are like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. Cause I even like try to help people here. Like, no, you have to do this. And they're just like, oh yeah, well, I'm doing it. Or they get in their head, whatever. And I'm just like, utilize it. Like just.
You do so many different things. I've noticed lately, number one, you show up, you talk on stories, you talk on reels, like you're showing up with your voice in your face. You're gaining trust from people. I mean, like it's amazing. You've got all these certifications going on. You've done these debunking these products of acne products or acne safe products, stuff like that. What do you feel like all these different marketing techniques that you're doing on social media and all these different ways of posting, what do you feel like has gained you the most clients or the most trust or the most engagement?
Well, it's funny because when you sent me these questions, I had I had an answer that I thought very first, but now that we're talking about it, the ones that I am showed, like the ones that I am in the photo and I'm talking about me and like my education or something, like I get the most engagement, the most likes, just everything when I'm showing up. Like people want to know you because let's face it, there's a bajillion hairstylists, there's a bajillion estheticians, but there's only one me. There's only one esthetician that I know that's going to play Drake in the playroom. Yeah. There's only one girl that's playing the rap facials. There's like, I show up, but I think that also in return brings me clients that are like me. So it's no even effort. Like I connect with my clients and that's something different. Like we usually talk my whole facial. Like if you want a relaxing facial, like go somewhere out. Like I want to get to know you. And it's, sometimes it turns into therapy, but I've always said that if you, especially in the beginning, like you're not that great, like, let's face it. But if you can connect with a client, a genuine connection, you're not looking at that client like she's $1. You're not trying to sell her products. Like you're just genuinely getting to know her and you give a okay, mediocre facial, they'll be your clients forever. They really will. Yeah. Like you have to make these genuine connections.
Yeah. And I think a lot of being an esthetician right now, especially with what you're doing with the acne specialist things, is that you need to teach them about their skin. And that does require educating them during their facial and talking to them throughout, a little Bone Thugs and Harmony intertwined in there.
Yes. If not, hey, guess what? They're going to go on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to learn all the awful influencer products that are going to destroy their skin. And you gotta be educating them and teaching them. And then gosh, the way you show up on social media when you're like just washing your own face and doing your own skincare and talking about like your son going to football practice and what he's going to use when he gets sunburned at football practice and like just literally like educating by experience and real time, real life stuff is so powerful. I could just scream it from the rooftops, how powerful it is to show up. And so what would you say to like an esthetician or a hairstylist or anyone in the beauty industry who shows up on social media in a way of just like posting client photos and reels? What would you say to them? The person who's too nervous or doesn't feel like they have anything to say or offer as their self.
What would I say? I would say show up and shut up. Take that out.
No excuses.
No excuses. It is hard to show up. And I think that's something that you probably need to work on internally. I think most people are scared of what other people are going to say. I think coming into like your own self and knowing like what other people think of you is none of your business. And if you are not like, you're literally doing clients a disservice by not talking about what you know, because there's so much information about skin out there. I always reference it to weight loss. Like, do I do keto? Do I do paleo? Do I do this? Like, people don't know what to do, and you are their resource. So for you not to show up, you're literally doing them a disservice. Like, a facial is not enough. You have to help them.
What I think is really cool that you've done, just something that you've done on social media that I've watched from afar, is every time you're doing a certification, which you're obsessed with education, even though you dropped out of high school, somehow you're like obsessed with school because you love what you're doing. And you've done so many certifications. I see them all behind you. Where do you, so I'm losing my train of thought. Let me go back. So one thing that I love that you've been doing is sharing, not just after you get the certification, which I think a lot of people wait till they get certified in something and then they start talking about it. They're like, come get the service done for me. Yeah. You're like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And then when you do it, you're like, I'm doing this training. And then you're like documenting the whole process of all of the hours you're putting into learning when you didn't know, all this stuff about, say, acne, and then you got educated. You documented the whole process of you getting educated on it. And then you launched the services that you're doing now and the boot camps that you're doing. I mean, like, that's gotta attract way more people. Yeah.
Honestly, people love the journey. They love to watch you because they feel a part of it. And if you're not showing that, and then you just like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm doing this, like, they're not as invested. And honestly, like, my clients here my clients everywhere are so amazing. And they value that I invest in my education, because let's face it, who's it going to benefit? It's going to benefit them. So, and usually, like, they're kind of like my guinea pigs. So it's nice. And I get to do it. Everything that I'm learning, I get to use in real time, and I get to share it. And I've helped so many women with just little bits that I've learned from school that have been life-changing for people.
And teens. Like, these teens, you're changing lives of moms and kids who suffer from acne. And oh my gosh, I have referred a ton of people to your page to learn about skin, just because you've completely transformed your Instagram into like an education hub. Where do you find go ahead.
Go ahead. I think that's definitely where my content is more like educational. Like, I feel like I'm a natural educator. That's what I like to look at. So I feel like that just comes easy to me. And I very much try to think like a normal person, like not an esthetician. And I use, like, when I'm talking to a client, I use what we discuss as content. I don't have to think of anything. I'm like, oh, this is what, whoever we were talking about today. And I just create content out of that, like exactly what I just told you. I'm going to share it because I know you're not the only one thinking that.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, if you don't know what to post, what clients did you have today? What problems did they come to you with? They're not the only one with that problem.
They're not the only one with that problem. Like, there are a bunch of other ones, and
it doesn't mean post that client with their face or their hair. It's just a topic. Get on there and talk. Get on Instagram. Get on TikTok and talk about that problem that client had, and turn that into an educational piece that, like, people are going to engage with and share, and your business is going to grow. You can't just post the picture and be like, this client had this problem today and we solved it.
And you can't also post a picture like glowing skin. Like, no.
Don't even get me started.
Glazed donut. Like, no, that's not. We need more. Like, be intentional. Give more. Like, give more.
Yes. I always say, if you don't post unless you can answer the question, would you engage with that? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, don't post it.
Yeah.
It's got to be for strawberry blonde hair.
Yeah.
Like,
not
chocolate brunette. No.
Or
not
like,
good enough.
Like, in Lash World, like, we would post like, oh, D6 through 12. A client does not know what that means.
No.
They don't know what it means.
That's bare minimum. That's that is just, definitely. Where do you find your continuing education?
Where do I find my continuing education? So I feel like when I feel like there is a missing piece in my business, or my clients are asking certain questions or they have this certain problem and I don't know it, I will find an answer. And I've invested a lot into my education. It's pretty unreal. I would say like Instagram sometimes is where I find my education.
Like the different brands and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say brands, but other estheticians, I don't personally follow any estheticians locally around me. I've suffered from like comparing before and I don't do that. So I think if that's also important, like don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
But there are some estheticians in the industry that live elsewhere that I really look up to. And there's one specifically who is very integrative like me. And she's so, so sweet. And I've reached out to her like, hey, what did you think about this course? And what I love about her is she's so supportive of it.
Oh, I love that.
And she's not gatekeeping and she tells me, and we're not competition. Like she's light years ahead of me, but I respect her opinion. So I have asked her, and just kind of like whatever intrigues me at that moment. Or like I said, if I'm missing a piece, like with the acne stuff, like, I did my acne course 2 years ago. And then I would clear certain people, but they were always my stubborn ones. And I'm like, why? I'm doing everything right. Like you're on all the product. And I realized it's an internal thing. And I can't just like blindly tell you like cut out dairy, cut out gluten. You know, I can't do that. So then I went into nutritional aesthetics. So essentially like how food affects your body. And it talked about other things, but it was very like pieces of things. And I'm like, okay, I want to dive into this piece now and get like the full picture. So then I went into my integrative health. So
I'm so amazed by that.
Yeah, that's full picture. I'm able to run labs. I could read it in an integrative way. And it's really, really interesting. And I think I know probably where I'll go next. I'd love to get like more into hormones or gut health, but it all has to come back to skin. Like how are those affecting your skin?
Yeah. Another thing that you've done on social media that I think is amazing is how you've allowed people to submit products that they're using. And then you dig into the ingredients and you're not just doing skincare. You're like, people are submitting their shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
I think what is like intriguing about it is labels. They lie, they greenwash you, you know, and I've taken my son to the store. I'm like, okay, find a product. And it never fails. He will always go to a product that looks very clean and then I'll look at the ingredients. I'm like, this is trash. And I think a lot, like most people, unless you're crazy like me, are not going to look at a bottle and know what all of those words mean. You know, it's intimidating. And like sometimes when I look at them, my eyes start crossing. So my favorite things to do though are when a product will mention that it's like non-comedogenic or like it doesn't have sulfates or, you know, anything like that. And I can turn it around and I can find them. And it's just really to educate people. Like you can't always believe what you're reading. And here's the proof. You know, I think people need to see that too. Like, I'm not just, you know, saying things out to say it. Like, it's true. Like, and I could prove it. So,
yeah, I think that's really cool that you do that. Because that's number one, the biggest way to gain somebody's trust is just to like answer their questions without saying, spend money with me.
Yeah.
You're not saying like, here's the acne safe products that I offer, come buy them. You're like, what are you using at home? What's in what's in your cabinet? What are you using? What's in your shower? And then letting them know what's safe or what could be triggering their acne.
Yeah. There's always a root cause. And whether that be something that you're using topically that a lot of people use or you found it on TikTok or this like influencer told you, and I can look at it just differently. And I'm looking at it more like your skin, your concerns. Everybody's different.
Yeah. Wow. So what do you feel like has been What's the biggest struggle you've had as a business owner? There's a lot of success in your story so far. What is like some hiccups or setbacks that you've had, or just like the hardest thing that you've had to deal with as being a business owner?
I mean, I think there's a few like at every stage, right? In the beginning, it's just starting, right? And not having that confidence. And then like, if you look at a client like $1, and you're not a genuine connection and, you're struggling for money and you need these clients, that's very difficult in the beginning, I feel like. Then owning a business, I think, is completely different. It's all you. It's all the time. You have to be on, and your work, and like literally my name is on my door. Like, my business is Marissa Lea, and I have to show up despite what may be going on personally. Like, I mean, this story, like a year and a half ago, my house caught on fire, and this is so crazy and so me, right? Literally, my house is burning down. I am sitting in the driveway across from my house burning down. I am texting my clients saying, hey, I'm not going to be in tomorrow. What? My house is burning down. Oh my gosh. And like, after that now, like, I had to show up. My house burnt on a Thursday. I was back to work on Monday.
Wow. I remember that phone call. I remember you called me and you were like, I don't want you to see this on social media. So I'm just calling you, which is like, so us, like, traumatic event happens, call Alison.
Yeah. I need you to know this. And I mean, I would even say up until, even now, like, there's moments where, like, thank God I just have the best clients, and they've followed me. They knew that that's what happened to me. And like, they also rallied with some of my friends. Like, I don't think we would have been so taken care of if I wasn't here. Like, my clients were so generous, so kind, brought me food, brought us totes. Like, my clients are gold to me, and they could do no wrong. But also, like, there would be times where I would be giving a facial and my PTSD would kick in, and I'm thinking my wall is burning down. Or like, I would smell, like, I would get that phantom, smell, and I would have to tell my client, like, hey, do you smell fire? And they would be like, no. And I'm like, do you care if I go look? And they would obviously be so supportive. And there's times where, like, this is Brayden and his own journey, but, my son was struggling, and there would be times where I'd get calls from school and I would have to go get him, and I'd have to bring him there. And my clients were just so, so sweet about it. But, that was hard to show up.
Yeah. You don't get to, and I think that's the main thing. Like, it's one thing to have a business and have a team, because that's what I have, a team. So like, when Paris got diagnosed, I was in the waiting room at the hospital calling all my clients from the emergency room, waiting room, saying, I can't do your hair tomorrow morning. So just as you were, I had to show up, but I did have a team to then say, like, hey, can you go ahead and call the rest of my clients for this month or this week or whatever? That was the beautiful thing about having a team, but you don't necessarily have like a manager or an owner or a team. You've got friends outside of your business that can help you, and they're not your business, they're your friends. So, I think it's so important. Like, obviously you have, like, you're a business owner in a studio, and you have a touch for marketing. You're into education, you motivate yourself. You've got all of these traits that you have to have as a business owner. And then you have grit, which you need when shit hits the fan. Literally. And your house is burning down, and you still have a job. There's nobody to take that client.
Mm-mm. There's nobody to take that client. There's nobody. And I'm really, like I said, I'm really woo-woo. So I was so intentional about, like, I didn't want to bring those bad vibes and like physically be touching somebody.
Yes.
Like, how horrible is that? So I did all the things. Like, I did the energy healing, like, immediately, therapy, all the things, because I did not, like, I just felt really weird, like being in a weird space and then physically touching somebody.
That happened to me before. I got a massage by a woman who had just went through something traumatic, and she told me just so I would know where she had been, and that her hours were changing. But the entire massage, I just felt that energy, and I left the massage. I felt like crap.
Yeah. I think if you are very like intuitive to those things, and a lot of people are, like, you feel like something's off. So I very much like got in check. And thankfully I loved my job. So it made it easier to come back. And my clients, like I said, were so supportive, so nice. So
wow.
It made it easier, but still difficult. You got to be on all the time.
Yeah. No bad days, no days off and no bad days.
No
I'm going to hop on Instagram real quick and see if I posted to see if anybody had any questions for you before we wrap up here.
My stalker child.
He's going to be like, how many boyfriends did she have?
Literally, he told me that yesterday, and I'm like, none. I had none.
All right, let's see. What do the people want to know?
Oh, God.
Career highs and lows, how she stays inspired and connected, and why she loves the industry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think we kind of touched on a lot of that. So let's see, how do you stay inspired and connected? How do you motivate yourself?
Oof. I think when you just know what you want out of your life, it makes it easy. And like, I think if you genuinely love your job, it's pretty easy to stay inspired, honestly. And I know like what I want to be for my family, and I like set goals, and I'm just very goal oriented. So maybe that's it too. Like, I set goals. I know what I want to crush. I have my vision board, like all these things. Like, I see what I want my life to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so important to stay. I keep telling people that too. That's a big thing that we've been talking about at Mastermynd Beauty is like, do not adopt somebody else's dream as your own. Like, what is your dream? Do that.
And it doesn't have to be as big as others either. Like if you just want to live a comfortable life, that's completely fine. If you don't want to be, all the things you don't have to be.
Not everybody wants to run their own business. Sometimes I think I'm quite crazy for wanting that.
No, I thought about that on my walk. I was like, I think running a business is not for everybody. And I also think that there are days where I would like to just clock out and go home.
Yeah. This is the worst thing ever, but I love it.
I know. We're like psychos or something because I keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people, I think for me, it's like, I would never want to do this alone. I love, like when I decided to launch Mastermynd Beauty, when I decided I was going to stop doing hair, I'm like, okay, I want to start coaching other people, but like, I don't want to do it alone. But I don't know anyone else that wants to like coach right now. Or that is qualified necessarily to coach and to partner with me on this. So my brother was like, well, let's do it. Let's run it out.
That makes sense.
He's like, we'll launch it through Mastermynd Media. We'll see where it goes. And a year later, we have two huge opportunities coming up here. Like we've got all this stuff going on. We've been, it's been a little over a year, almost somewhere between a year and a half, 2 years, I guess, since we first started talking about it. And, but I didn't want to do it alone. I'm like, I want to do it with somebody. And it's been amazing. I think the best decision I could have ever made was have a coaching business ran out of Los Angeles. It gives me all the reasons to come here.
Yeah. Nice weather, get out of the snow.
Yeah. But the way I made my decision in all of my career moves over the last 15 years or 17 years is like, writing down what I want and then what I don't want, and then making a decision based off of that. I don't care what anybody else is doing. I'm happy for whatever everybody's doing. That's great. I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. And it's okay to change your mind.
Which I have.
Like you have to pivot.
Times.
You always have to pivot and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something else might spark your interest and go with it. Just do it.
Yeah. Just go for it. You got one life to live. Just got to do what you do. I can't wait to see where we're at. And
what's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly. I can't wait to see where we're at in another 10 years. I just said that to Mark and I were talking the other day and I'm like, what's going to happen next year? This is insane.
And you would surprise yourself like at what you can do.
Yeah. If you could go back to high school, would you still have dropped out?
Probably. Because I think honestly,
Allison,
for the plot, I think it sounds really cool.
Yes. I hardly made it out, man. I think I passed with like a 2.0. And that's what you had to have. I think you had to have a 1.8 and I had a 2.0.
Yeah, I don't know. I think every step has just made sense. And
I think you'd be surprised how many successful people I have met in my life, and really successful people, really incredible global brands, and their story is very similar. A lot of them were not great in school, did not go, did not show up, and then found their passion, found their career, and just like killed it.
Yeah. It's like I saved all my brain cells for now instead of using them in high school for like
Did you save your brain cells?
Yeah.
Did you save your brain cells, Marissa?
I mean, there might have been a few backyard times that I did not, but
cut.
Don't talk about that. Edit that out. No, I think I want it. I really, really want it. It's just brought me to where literally I am.
Yeah.
And nobody ever believes me. They're like, you're a professional student now. And I get really good grades and I'm a really good test taker now. And they cannot believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, I have absolutely loved doing this. Like, I'm really like, wait, what should we talk about next?
I know. None of the bad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want to do this again. Thank you so much for coming on with me. My very first Mastermynd Beauty podcast. I had a podcast actually during quarantine, very short-lived. So I wasn't as nervous to like do it today. I felt like I was excited to jump back in, but I've been thinking about it for a while that I want to do a podcast again, and just booked this trip to LA, and I knew I was going to be in Mark's studio, and I was like, I should do a podcast with Marissa. I literally texted you what was it, like 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It's like,
meant to be.
We just feel comfortable. It's just us talking. And so there is no nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a little nervous, but, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Have a great day. Think about what we're going to talk about next, because I have a feeling we're going to be doing this again soon. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited to see what you do next. And just so that people can follow you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
Oh gosh. It is Marissa Lea Skin and Wellness now.
Love it. Love it. So we'll pop that on here as well so people can give you a follow. Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see you soon.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. This podcast is available globally wherever you get your podcasts.